So Nintendo Switch games as we know them are getting a very interesting update late into the Nintendo Switch's life cycle, mind you, although we're going to break down this entire story and talk about the implications of what it means for the rest of this generation's Nintendo Switch games, and really the bigger topic of conversation. I believe that this technology will be rolling forward into the next gen console and will likely be affecting primarily those games at and shortly after release, and we are talking about a technology by the name of Denuvo, which you may or may not be familiar with, depending on if you've kept up with all of the developments around this technology over the years. I know we talked about it maybe almost a year ago at this point, potentially headed to the Nintendo Switch, and now we have confirmation that not only will it be available to developers, it's actually available right now. And to first get on the same page with those details before we break down exactly how this may affect games and specifically the performance around games, because that is definitely the bigger topic of conversation here, let's quickly hop over to VGC and read through their detailed typed up article together. Denuvo security is now on Switch, including new tech to block PC Switch emulation. The company is the first security partner to be added to the Nintendo Developer Portal. The company is the first security partner to be added to the Nintendo Developer Portal, which studios can use to access tools and documentation while developing Switch games. The first tool Denuvo is offering to Switch developers is the Nintendo Switch Emulator Protection, a revolutionary technology to protect games launching on Nintendo Switch from piracy. According to Denuvo, the tech can be applied to Switch games to block the ability to play them on PC emulators. Even if a game is protected against piracy on its PC version, the version released on Nintendo Switch can be emulated from day one and played on PC, therefore bypassing the strong protections offered on the PC version, the company says. This can happen with any of the numerous games available on Nintendo Switch. By blocking unauthorized emulations on PCs, studios are able to increase their revenue during the game launch window, which is the most important period for monetization. The Nintendo Switch Emulator Protection will ensure that anyone wishing to play the game has to buy a legitimate copy. As with all other Denuvo solutions, the technology integrates seamlessly into the build tool chain with no impact on the gaming experience. It then allows for the insertion of checks into the code which blocks gameplay on emulators. Nintendo has been trying to prevent Switch emulation on PC for some time now, and in May it issued multiple DMCA takedown requests to software hosting services GitHub to remove Lockpick, a homebrew tool designed to make it possible to play Switch games on an emulator. Lockpick is a tool which lets players dump the unique encryption key from their own Switch so it can be used to play backups of Switch games on PC emulators. While some players claim this is legal for creating their own backups, something Nintendo nevertheless disputes in its takedown claims, one of the steps in playing pirated Nintendo Switch games involves downloading someone else's encryption key, a number of which are available for download online. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification if you don't know what any of that means and you want to stick around for the rest of the explanation, because the long and short of it is that this is an anti-piracy tool that should, in theory, help Nintendo with their problem that we do talk about here on the channel at length, which is every single new retail release of a Nintendo Switch game no doubt gets out early in the hands of gamers, typically by acquiring a copy illegally or by nefarious means. Somebody's going to lift a copy of Tears of the Kingdom off of the shipping truck and go home with it. And once they go home with it, they have the option via a hacked Switch to dump that entire game and actually put it online as a downloadable ROM file, which of course, once it gets into the hands of the masses of people who choose to download it, you will see spoilers for things like the ending of the story of Tears of the Kingdom, even if you haven't had the option to pick up the game and purchase it yourself. So no doubt this could fight that, which would actually be a big win for Nintendo, and I am not opposed to that aspect of this technology being a part of Nintendo Switch games going forward. I am someone who has had things spoiled in games while looking for new stories online, and I typically go into lockdown mode a couple weeks before any major release that I am looking forward to comes out, because I know to expect that if retail copies are available day one, that a end game spoiler could very likely come across your monitor. So from that aspect, you might say this is good news. The reason it's an interesting update though, and nothing comes for free when it comes to a piracy fighting technology that should stop those day one leaks from happening so easily online, is because of Denuvo's larger reputation in the PC gaming community when There is no denying that if this technology is enabled, that you have performance issues with the game while it is enabled on the service. So are they developing this in a brand new way for the Switch that will truly run seamlessly in the background and not affect gameplay? It's possible, but more than likely, this is something that just requires additional CPU power and additional tasks to be run in the background to do these online code checks, and it very well could hamper game performance, and that is a big problem when you look at the current 6.5-year-old Switch that we have today, and even the next gen console that we are assuming will fit this hybrid form factor. This is not a beefy RTX 4090 GPU card that they have in the Switch. This is something that is shrunk down to the size that can be transported portably, and you can also play while docked, and inherently you don't have as much graphical power in something that can be picked up and thrown in a backpack as you do in a built from the ground up standing tower desktop PC, and that's where a lot of the concern comes in. Will Denuvo be implemented on existing Nintendo Switch games today? More than likely, anything that is already released will not be affected by this, but we should start to expect it any given time now with future releases, as it is part of the Nintendo development portal, which means that yes, there is a possibility that games at release, if they were already struggling to hit a constant 30 frames per second, may actually be hampered by Denuvo's implementation of their technology in the background. And what happens on PC games is people notice that once this tool gets pulled from the game a few months after release, because the developers aren't so worried about the piracy concern, the game's been out, they've had a successful launch, they're kind of done with using this tool, they will disable Denuvo from running in the background, and all of the sudden those frame skips and different issues they were having that were tied to performance simply just go away. So there is cause for concern about this technology being implemented on Nintendo Switch games going forward, but there is also an upside to the not getting every single retail game that gets out into the wild dumped online. So it's an interesting one, and ultimately one that we will have to keep our eyes on, and really hopefully look out for companies like Digital Foundry and other people who deep dive the technical aspect of how games run to see if this is a freshly developed version of Denuvo tech for Nintendo Switch that maybe does what they're actually claiming, meaning it does not hamper game performance, or this could very well be something that we'll see an already struggling Nintendo Switch struggle that much more and potentially hamper performance of Nintendo Switch 2 games, or whatever Nintendo ends up calling it, which would definitely be bad news across the board and not worth it at that point just to fight the piracy around games. But Nintendo's going to Nintendo at the end of the day, and if this is the way that they think they can get ahead of this massive problem that they no doubt have, we may indeed see them do that at any cost, including game performance. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions around Denuvo and the tech that it has to offer. Do you think that this spells bad news for the rest of the new Nintendo Switch game releases? Do you think we're going to see any impact to games that have not come out yet on the Nintendo Switch? And do you think that this is indeed Denuvo laying the groundwork as their kind of go-to partnership for Nintendo with this anti-piracy tech for the next-gen Switch? Because that is kind of what I am thinking. But regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.